It's time to turn your life-challenging moments into life-changing messages. Welcome to the Power Lift Stories podcast, where we are interviewing women whose stories will leave you lifted up, fired up, and fueled up with hope, courage, and inspiration. We want to thank our sponsor, Powerful Journey, who helps women tell their stories, write their books, and building a profitable brand around both. Join the masterclass or the Speakers Academy at phyllisjenkins.com. That is PHYLLISJENKINS.com. Now here's your host, Phyllis Jenkins.
Hello, and have a question for you. Have you ever said, that person is a walking miracle? Well, today you will definitely say that after you hear our interview. We are welcoming to the Powerlift Stories podcast, Janice Vance. Janice, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you here, and I am going to introduce you and then have you to just jump right in.
Okay.
Janice Vance is the founder and visionary for the Marriage Major. She is a transformational marriage coach that inspires married women to not just have a surviving marriage, but to have a thriving marriage. She inspires engaged women to prepare for their marriage before preparing for their wedding. Wow, that says a lot right there. And Janet also inspires the single woman desiring God to send their husband to wait and be busy about the things of God and not settle for less. The Marriage Major is founded upon godly principles because it is indeed the foundation of a healthy marriage. Janet is a new published author, and her book is titled Women Majoring in Their Marriage. And the book was released on her birthday, November 20th. So happy birthday, and how excited we are about the book. Janice is married to her junior high sweetheart, Virgil Vance, and they've been married for 42 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Janice, did I leave out anything that you would like to let our listeners know about you?
Well, as you stated that I am a first-time author. My book was released on my birthday, which was my goal. And Phyllis, honestly, I never had a desire to write a book. I've been in classes, I've been in coaching for 5 years, and I never had any notes on writing books. There was authors and those that want to be authors. But God have a way of doing things. All I want to do is do coaching and traveling. Those are the two things that I was passionate about after I retired. I've been retired 8 years from the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, and I wanted to do something that to encourage women. My passion was about encouraging women and inspiring women, and I wanted to do coaching. And I started my coaching. And last year, I went through a trying time that I went to have a surgery that was just 4 days to be in the hospital, get out the hospital, go to rehab for 21 days, and come home. I got out of the hospital, went to rehab, got over to rehab, was there, and on my 5th day there, I woke up at 5 o'clock that morning, I remember specifically, and reached to get something to drink. And when I reached to get something to drink, a pain hit me in my chest. And when that pain hit me in my chest, I could not reach my call button to call a nurse. I just said, nurse, and a tech came in, asked me, was I okay? I said, get my nurse. Something has happened to my heart. And the nurse came in taking my vitals, and I was telling her, no, it's not my surgery. Something wrong with my heart. She was doing everything she could and wouldn't get me help. I said dial 911. And make a long story short, I end up asking that tech to call my husband because the nurse wasn't getting me any help.
So you were
And I
in
don't remember my
rehab
husband.
rehab at this time, or the hospital?
I was at the rehab at this time.
Okay. Okay. And
And
before you get any further in your story, if you were to give your story a title, what would that title be and why? And then I'm going to let you finish.
if I was to give a title, it would be a walking miracle, because I am a walking miracle. And that is why, because I end up in the rehab, end up coding.
Oh.
I actually coded, end up on a ventilator that was breathing 100% for me. And as you can see, I am a walking miracle. I'm here to tell that story.
Yes.
And God started dealing with me about not just being a coach, but to be an author. And I was like, what am I going to write about? And you would think, okay, what I just said, you coded, and now you live, and you have a lot to talk about. So I kept putting it off and putting it off. And then right before COVID, I had a sister-in-law to pass. And when I sat there and watched them take her body and cover her up and everything, God dealt with me. Life is short. And that day, we left her house, and when I got to her house, I took out my computer and I wrote my title of my book, because I realized life is definitely short. And I was obedient. When I was obedient, God just started giving me words. I would wake up with words, and I'd get up and I'd jot them down, write the words down on paper. So I'm here. I am a walking miracle. And my other miracle is, the doctor said my husband and I never will have children. I had 5 miscarriages. I had a baby to die that lived 9 days. And my miracle there is I have 2 children. My daughter's name is Little Miracle, which means the miracle, and my son's name is Brian, which means great strength. And God bless. And now we have 5 grandchildren. So
Great.
I'm a walking miracle.
That is absolutely wonderful. And yes, you indeed are a walking miracle. And, God shows himself mighty in
Yes.
all of our life experiences. And we just heard briefly how he showed himself mighty in your experiences. Can you add a little bit more of how you saw God working throughout these experiences?
When I would say, for the children, having my children, and this is in my book, my testimony, God showing himself miraculously, when the doctors, had miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriages, and how God showed himself faithful to me and blessed us with those children in spite of all the negative reports. And in spite of all the discouragement and seeing other people have a baby and everybody else pregnant and lose my baby, and that God showed himself mightily. And then through me being on the ventilator where I coded, and I talks about that in my book. And that is in one of the chapters in my book, when I talk about when your marriage vows for in sickness and in health has been challenged. We make those stand up and make those vows so happily and say, I do, I do, I do, and never realize that you're going to be challenged with some of the very things that you say I do to in your marriage. And I was challenged with that. And I thank God for my husband, who was there every step of the way, who literally had to feel that he had to take care of me. Because once I got out the hospital, and by being on a ventilator, it zapped all my energy. I couldn't take the top off a toothpaste. He was feeding me. He had to do everything for me. And I was on a walker. I couldn't even write, but every day I would say, this is temporary. This is not unto death. This is not unto death. I'm going to defeat this. And every day I would write my ABCs, keep practicing, practice. I couldn't even recognize them. I kept practicing, I kept writing my name. Now I can write I can do whatever. I can do. God is good.
You can write a book.
I can write a book. Yes, I have something to write about. God
Oh
is,
my
He's so
goodness.
faithful. He has, He has proved Himself to me over the years. But I think this last experience is an experience that I cannot explain. And when the tech went to get the nurse, and then the nurse finally went to call 911. I was laying in the bed, and I couldn't hardly talk at that point. And I told the tech, I said, "Come close to me." She came close. I said, "Will you tell my family that I died?"
Oh.
I said, "Tell them it had nothing to do with my surgery. Tell them something went wrong with my heart." And slowly, if I was on a stage, a white curtain was slowly closing in front of me. And that was the last that I remember. And it was 3 days later, I was in the room looking around, and the nurse kind of said, "Where am I?" I knew I was in a hospital room, but I was like, "Where am I?" He said, "You're in critical ICU. You've been on a ventilator." I said, "Where's my husband?" They said, "There's certain visiting hours. He'll be back." The visiting hour again and be tomorrow. He'll be back. And I started reflecting. I remember when it happened. But when I came back to Phyllis, I cannot describe how light I felt. I can't even describe it. I felt so light and so free. I don't remember anything happening other than that curtain. And when I told the girl to tell my husband that I died, and tears were just in her eyes, I remember that. And all the other things I don't remember. My husband said he get a call saying, "Meet the ambulance at the hospital. Your wife is coded." And he thinking to himself, "What has happened? I just left her last night." And that's why I wanted the nurse to tell my husband them that it had nothing to do with the surgery, because I knew I was dying. I can't explain it. But I didn't want them wondering, well, what happened? But long story short, they found out the pain medicine that they had me on was too strong, and it was as if a person had OD, and my heart had shut down. But God wasn't ready for me yet. He wanted me to be here to tell this whole story.
That's right. He wanted you to be here to tell that story. And indeed, Janet, you are a walking miracle. And
Yes.
we are so grateful to God that He allowed you to remain here so that you can encourage and inspire and bring hope to others and help build up marriages as you are doing.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's great. Well, my last question for you is, I want you to imagine that you just stood on a stage and you shared your story, this life-changing story, in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women. And they have now stood to their feet, gave you the biggest applause ever. And now they've turned to walk away to return to their vehicles and their homes. And you, Janice Vance, turn to walk to your own vehicle. What 3 major lessons or points do you hope that every woman walked away with?
What Phyllis, I would say is, don't sweat the small things.
Mm-hmm.
Life is short. Smell the roses. Don't sweat the small things. The next one I would say is that we all was born on purpose for a purpose.
Yes.
And to fulfill that purpose. I think it was the Miles Monroe.
Miles Monroe.
Miles Monroe, yes, who stated that so the grave is the richest place, the cemetery. So
Yes.
many people take their goals and their dreams and their visions to the grave. So many authors are in the grave. They never fulfilled it. They were saying one day, one day, one day. And I want them to leave there knowing that they have a purpose and pursue your purpose. And the next thing I would say is to remember that your story is not for you. Your
Yes.
story is for someone else. It is to encourage and to bless someone else. So don't sit down on your story. As my coach, I always say, start before you're ready. You don't have to get it all right, but start whatever it is that you envision and want to do it. Those are the three things that I would want to leave those people with that in mind that they need to do.
Outstanding. I love those points, and I just want you to let our listeners know how they can stay connected to Janice Vance. How can they purchase your new book?
Okay, my new book is Women Majoring in Marriage. They can find that book at my website, which is www.janicevance.com. I have a Facebook group, which is called Women Majoring in Their Marriage on Facebook. And my email address is The Marriage Major, because that's the name of my coaching business, The Marriage Major, themaragemajor@gmail.com.
Great. And we will have all of those addresses in our show notes so that they can definitely purchase the book and connect with you. And again, Janet, thank you so much for sharing your life-changing message today. We are truly blessed to have you
Thank
here
you.
and to have heard it. And to
Thank
our listeners, if you are ready to take your business to the next level, join us on December 20th for the Water Walking Masterclass. It is a 7-month intensive that will have you step up, step out, and seize what God has given you. Seize that purpose, as Janice just talked about.
Yes.
Walk on water and get it fulfilled. Your dreams, your goals. You will be able to register at phyllisjenkins.com. That's PHYLLIS Jenkins, JENKINS.com. And there's more goodness there for you as well. If you're ready to write your book, as Janice just did, you can join our Authors Academy. Or if you are ready to stand and tell your story, you can join our Speakers Academy. But you'll find all of that over at phyllisjenkins.com. Thank you again. Blessings to each of you. Happy Thanksgiving to each of you. Janet, be blessed, and thank you again.
And thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us today. If you are interested in being on the show, go to phyllisjenkins.com. You can also sign up for the Powerful Journey Masterclass or the Speakers Academy at phyllisjenkins.com.